Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Watchful Citizen, a public access program brought to you by the Lancaster County Democratic Party. I'm your host. My name is Benny Shobe, and today on set we have Lincoln Public School Board member Don Mayhew. Don, thanks for joining us on the program today.
That's my pleasure, Benny. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming on because as a citizen of this, resident of the city, I'm really confused about this Lincoln Public School System. We often refer to it as LPS. But there are other school systems in the county. So what does Lincoln Public School System mean? Let's go there. The school system, and what is your job as a board member of the public school system?
There are other school districts in the county. The bounds of Lincoln Public Schools is roughly that of the city of Lincoln. And we are one of those unusual districts in that as the city of Lincoln grows, so grows the district. So as the city is annexing property, then we will also expand our boundaries to encompass that property. We have a little bit more area. We have some areas that are outside of the city. But if you think of LPS as being basically the city of Lincoln, you won't be very far off.
City limits.
Yep.
So how long have you been a member of the board?
I was just re-elected to my fourth term on the board. I have been serving 12 years, and each of our terms is 4 years. And so with this, I'll be on for another 4 years.
Excellent. Thank you for your continued service. This is going to be a little difficult. Why become a member of the Lincoln Public School Board?
Altruism. I wanted to put myself in a position to where I could make decisions that would be good for families and for children. That's something that's very important to me. I've had some challenges in my life, but I've also been very fortunate, and I got to a point where I wanted to give back to the community, and I thought that a position like this, where I could be doing good work for children, would be a good fit for me, and so far it's been wonderful. I've enjoyed the service. I've met so many incredible people, and I've been involved with some very important decisions that have been a great part of my life. So it's been very good service for me.
Yeah, when I look around, I looked at your website earlier, and as I look around the community, there are a lot of school buildings. Can you tell me ballpark numbers? How many elementary, how many middle school, how many high school buildings?
Well, we have the 6 high schools, and then we have our focus programs. We have about 15 middle schools, as I recall, and 36 elementaries. It's about 60.
Elementary
Yeah,
schools?
it's about 60 buildings total.
Wow, and how many students is that do that again,
Yep.
60 buildings?
About 60 buildings. A lot of people don't realize. They say, why does LPS spend so much? And they don't realize we have 60 buildings, over 5,000 employees, and we're serving right now almost 38,000 children. So we're the second biggest district in the state, behind only Omaha, and our growth, especially the last few years, has just been incredible.
I'm still fascinated by the number of buildings because I walk around my neighborhood and I see an elementary school now and then I see a high school, but that's a lot of students and a lot of facilities.
People don't realize we have about $1 billion in real estate and buildings, just in school buildings for facilities for our students.
Wow. And you said a little over 5,000 employees. In the recent years, our society, our community, Nebraska itself, has seen a population growth. Have you seen the same thing as far as school students?
We have, and it's been incredible. When I was first elected about 12 years ago, we were at just over 31,000 students, as I recall, and now we are just under 38,000. So a little quick math, about 20%, 22% growth in 12 years, and a lot of that has been in the last 5 or 6 years. This year we grew by about 1,000 new students, just under 1,000, and we've been doing that for the last few years. And when you think of an elementary school as being 450 to 500 kids,
yes,
that's like we've been growing by 2 elementaries per year. We've been growing by more kids than most other districts have in total.
Wow.
One of our former administrators used to describe it as we're growing by a wahoo every year. So it's been phenomenal.
The numbers are 20% growth a year. That means if I do this right, every 5 years you almost double? I did that wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, it's been 20% since I first got elected.
Okay.
But about 1,000 new kids per year.
So take a few more. Yeah, that's just the numbers. Just like my brain can't process it at the moment.
People are moving into Lincoln, and people are having babies. It's you can see it. We've got a number of students by grade level, and the kindergarten, the first grade, it's very high. And so if you project that forward, the growth is just going to continue.
It's like a little demographic bubble there that should keep going through the system.
Lincoln's growing.
So let's talk a little bit about your role as a member of the board. You were elected to the board. What is your everyday duties look like? How often do citizens and residents and parents call you about school board issues?
My job as a school board member is to be a representative of the community. We are the community's liaisons with the district, all 7 of us. And the main things that we spend our time on are setting policy, managing the budget, and we talk about how we have one employee, and that's the superintendent.
Okay.
And so we hire the superintendent, and in general, we oversee the operations of the district from a high level, a policy level view. We look for accountability, and we report back to the community on what LPS is doing.
So as a resident of the city, I assume that you did more than that. It sounds like, how's the process go? Does the superintendent bring things to you and you decide whether he did a good job or bad job? Is there input that you can give him, can you provide him with direction?
We do. We set goals for the district and for the superintendent, we being the board. We do that every year. And Dr. Joel then works on those goals, and every year we evaluate his progress, and that's an annual process.
I'm going to skip over to Dr. Joel for a second, but I want to come back to this goal setting thing. Dr. Joel's the new superintendent. I assume how was working under Dr. Joel different than working under a previous superintendent, previous administration?
Well, all of the superintendents, Dr. Joel is the 3rd superintendent that we've had in my time on the board. And all of our superintendents tend to be very intelligent people who care very much for Lincoln. I was chair of the board when we went through the process to hire Dr. Joel, and it was a huge process. We got a lot of community feedback, and I can tell you that the impression that he makes on people is incredible, and working with him is nothing short of a pleasure. And sometimes I still think of him as our new superintendent too, and I forget, he's been here 3 years already. And right after he got to the district, I remember was when we had our fire in the district office.
Building, yes.
And he came in, he was fresh to the district, and immediately had a huge crisis on his hands, and he was just incredible. And I'll tell you, seeing the measure of somebody in dealing with something like that, especially still being relatively new to the district, it was just incredible. So I'm a big fan of Dr. Joel.
I met him in a function, and I do not have children in the system, but he made me regret that after talking to him for a great opportunity. I want to ask you a little bit about that, and then let's go back to some of the expansion. Dr. Joel's passionate about it, you're passionate about it. How do people in the community like myself get more involved, and people who don't have children in the system? Is there a place for us to get involved in the process?
Well, and I'm glad you asked that, because it's actually a pretty low percentage of the city that has kids in school. Somewhere between 20 to 25% of households have a child that's in Lincoln Public Schools. So most of the community does not. And this is something that is a continuing challenge for us, how to communicate what LPS is doing, communicating the value of our system. And I think that the vast majority of the feedback that I get, the communication that I get from people, is that they love their schools. Lincoln Public Schools is a very high-performing district. I think people know that. The reality is nobody in Lincoln really knows what a failing school is. I think we have a lot to be proud of, and it's not just educationally, but also as an economic driver, as an employer. We are just very important, I think, to the community. The school district is very important to the community, and I think the community realizes that and values it.
Yes, I think we do. I live almost halfway between McPhee and Prescott, and I can't decide which one of those is my school. I think they're both my schools. And again, I don't have children attending there. But you have a lot of buildings, you have a lot of employees, we have some passionate people. What's on the horizon for Lincoln Public Schools? You're growing at great numbers, you told me. So what's the future of the system?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because we're working right now on a bond issue. You may have seen in the news that last week we voted unanimously to approve a bond election on February 11th to approve about $150 million worth of work for the district. And what that's going to include is a new elementary school, a new middle school, a career academy, which you may have been hearing about.
I did. I'd like to talk about that a bit more. Yes.
Okay. Classroom additions in several other buildings, some security upgrades, technology upgrades, and it's going to be, if you look at a map, and the staff produced a map for us of Lincoln that had a little star in every building that was going to have some work done on it if this bond were to pass, and there's just stars all over the map. So there's going to be a lot of work done if the bond passes.
You mentioned the technology, you mentioned a lot of things, and I got a little confused, but I did see a newspaper article last week that said we're building a new middle school, new elementary school. Then conversations with my friends over the weekend, they said, no, there's going to be more. And they
There'll be the middle school, the elementary school, additional classrooms in other buildings, and then the other thing that you're probably thinking of is the Career Academy,
yes.
which is a partnership with Southeast Community College. And what that's going to be is, unofficially, I kind of think of it like a focus program on steroids. We have our focus programs right now, Infotech, Entrepreneurial, Arts and Sciences, the Zoo School, and the IB program, International Baccalaureate. It could be considered a focus program. And we've been talking about our Bryan program as well as a focus program. So we have all these different programs that, and some of them, especially the technology, the business, and the arts, where they focus on a particular study area. And the way that works is a student will go to their home high school for half the day, and then they will go out to the focus program perhaps for the other half of the day, and then they can have that focused education. So what the Career Academy is doing is it'll take entrepreneurship, infotech, and then add some new ones as well. Nursing we've talked about, and several other areas of study, and it'll be this place where students can come for half the day and get that focused, career-oriented or college-oriented education. And one of the things that is going to be neat about it is that once kids graduate from the program, they will have not only their high school diploma, but as much of a year of college credit already in the bank, so that they can just make that transition into college if that's the way they decide to go.
Quicker and yeah, it sounds a little bit. I grew up in a different state and a different type of school system. We had something like vocational training. It sounds like a modernized, better version of that. Is that fair for me to say that, or is it?
Yep. The focus is to improve career and college readiness, and I would comment that this is a concept that's gotten a lot of support from the business community. Nick Cusick from the Chamber of Commerce, a lot of people from the Chamber of Commerce are very supportive of the idea. And one of their concerns is, we've got these jobs, we've got these skilled jobs, we need skilled people to come in and take these jobs, and we're not making enough skilled people. And so they're very supportive of the idea of this concentrated education, this concentrated learning that can take place to provide more technically skilled workforce in Lincoln.
Outside of the school board, we hear this often, that employers are looking for workers who are ready to start the job. And so if we provide a workforce, or a population that's already trained, it can only be good for everyone.
And then the idea is, again, after they've gotten that focus, and then if they decide to go on to college, they can. If they decide to go to finish their 2-year education, they can. If they want to go into a voc tech school, they can, or right into the workforce, then they will have those skills to be able to do that.
Options, gives everyone more options. So you said something else that caught me off guard. You said a bond election in February?
Yes.
Now, maybe I'm a little confused, but Nebraskans, we have a primary in April, a general in May, 1 year, and the next year we have a primary and then a November election. What's a February election? Explain what's going on here.
Well, one of the things that the legislature allows us to do is to call a special election if we feel that the need is big enough. And we had actually quite a bit of conversation about timing for this particular bond election. There is the primary in May and the general in November.
Yes.
And what this is coming down to largely for us is that it's a matter of being able to save money. And I know it may seem counterintuitive, but if we were to go in March instead of May, it could end up saving us almost $1 million, which could then be applied directly to facilities.
Wow. But so we're going to open the polling places, and I'm going to have to go down the street to my polling place in February, and then again in March, and then how does that really save us money?
Well, it's two things. First, Dave Shively has requested that this be an all-mail election. So you're not going to have to go to your polling place in February. Every registered voter in the county is going to get a ballot in the mail, which they can then fill out and send back in. And Dave Shively had a bunch of statistics about how all-mail elections increase voter turnout dramatically, from an average of maybe 30% to as much as 50%. Now, we've never done it here in Lancaster County before. This will be a new thing. But I think that for voter turnout, it's very positive. Everyone will have an opportunity regardless of what happens with the weather.
That's incredible. I'm intrigued by that. So how do I and other residents of the city find out more about the particulars of this bond issue? Usually when we hear bond issue, we hear tax increase is what I really hear.
Sure.
Is this a tax increase?
No. And let me be clear about that, because what has happened is we've had bonds in the past, and some of our old debt is rolling off. We're getting it paid off. And so what we have is a window where we can get some new work done and keep it at the existing tax levy. So this does not represent any kind of a tax increase. And the other thing that I would want to say is that what we have done, we've actually been talking about this for a long time, and beginning in February of this year, we started work again on our new 10-year facilities plan.
Okay.
And this is a comprehensive process by staff, by the school board, by the community. We put together Dr. Joel put together a task force of almost 100 people from all across the community, different backgrounds, different areas of expertise, to come together, to go through all of our needs, and to come up with recommendations for us on how to move forward with taking care of our facilities needs. And so this is a process that's been going on for some time, and our list of overall facility needs is closer to the $300 million range.
Wow.
Because as I mentioned, we've got
60
a lot of buildings
and a lot of people.
We've got a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
We're growing. We need to add some new buildings, and so that's where we're at on that.
So I'm going to back up just a little bit. You said some existing bonds were expiring, or had come. So we can. Right now, some of my money goes to pay for these bonds. I won't really see any increase. I'll stay at the same comfort level I'm at now. Would that be fair to say that?
Yes, that's exactly correct. Now, there are other entities that can do that also have the ability to increase their portion of the levy. The LPS portion of the levy will not go up as a result of this bond.
So I should see no change except for increased services and increased opportunities for the students in LPS.
Correct. Exactly.
Wow.
We'll be able to get a lot of work done, and taxpayers won't notice the difference from what they're paying right now.
You mentioned a couple of new buildings and a lot of new technology and the stars of all the other buildings. What are the ages of some of these buildings we have in our community? Do you have an idea on that? How oldest building, newest building?
Sure. We in Lincoln, we build our buildings to last. Lincoln High, I think, is one of the oldest. Dr. Zimmer could probably tell you quite a bit more about this than I do. We do have some buildings that are quite a bit older, but even some of our newer buildings, what we would consider newer, people forget that some of our newer schools, Scott and Lux, have been here 20 years already, and they need some work done.
But
so.
I did not know they were that old. I've seen some of the school buildings. I thought, wow, they don't build them like that anymore. So when we build them to last? So
we do build them to last. However, over time our needs can change. One of the aspects of this bond is security and technology. And so of course we're going to be working on technology infrastructure, but we're also going to be dealing with security. And keep in mind, our buildings are safe.
Yes.
But we have several buildings, the way that they were built back then, we have to have the entrances to where there's somebody there manning the door. And what we want to do is what we call secure entrances, to where the entrance feeds right into the office. And there are still a number of buildings in the district that don't have that yet, and that will be part of what we're doing with this bond.
I think all of the residents of Lancaster County, the city of Lincoln, and the state will want you to make sure our facilities are safe for our children. So
security is a big issue. It's important to us. We do everything we can. This is an opportunity for us to increase what we do, not only with the secure entrances, but also with key card entry on our buildings, and also cameras in the buildings and on the buses. So this is a pretty big change for us.
So the bond issue will give us safer buildings.
It will, yes.
It will move us closer to being a safe. I'm going to mess it up with you. It sounds like we're just going to get safer facilities.
We're going to increase the standards in our buildings, get them up to what we think now are our current security needs.
And the technology aspect of it, I saw an argument a few weeks ago. It was a California school district. They were giving iPads for all their students, and it didn't go as well as they'd hoped.
Yes, there's been a lot of talk about what happened in California. We are being very careful with our technology plan. Part of our overarching strategic plan, we're one of the districts that has done that. We went through a long process with Dr. Joel, again, when he was new to the district. We put together our strategic plan. Part of that was technology. And there's a lot to technology,
yes.
Not only in how we run the district, but also in how we deliver curriculum. And what our staff has done is they have put together a new comprehensive technology plan. The price tag on it is about $55 million. And so that's something that we're going to be talking about quite a bit. Part of the infrastructure for that technology
That's what I want to talk about.
is going to be included in the bond.
With the California issue, they gave students iPads, but having a device is one thing. Having the infrastructure to support that device is totally different.
That's correct.
Yeah,
and that's something that we're going to be including with the bond. One thing we need to keep in mind, though, is that while moving towards this kind of technology is inevitable, that's something that,
yes.
I mean, you look forward far enough, that's where everyone will be. But technology is not a replacement for excellent teaching.
No.
And that, again, is something that I think Lincoln does very well.
I would agree with that. Let's change gears a little bit and talk about how you said over 5,000 employees, and that includes principals, teachers, paraeducators, and the whole staff. How are you staffed? Do you have enough people, and how do we as the public help you with that?
Well, that has been an issue for us because as our student population has been growing, I mean, two of the things that we talk about are facilities, having enough classrooms for them, and then teachers, having enough people in the classrooms to teach our kids. One of the things that we have not been doing very well is what we call funding for growth. And we have a formula where it's very complex. It's not one teacher per 25 kids or whatever. It depends on what the subject matter is, the grade level. There are a whole bunch of things that go into it. But there's a formula that we use to determine how much staffing we need.
Yes.
And as we're putting more and more kids into the system, we have not been putting as much resources into the teachers, and as a result, class sizes have been creeping up.
Yes.
So this is something that you're going to hear board members, we have been talking about this actually, and when we have opportunities, we do try to fund a little bit of money towards growth, but we have not been able to keep up with the growth that we've been experiencing.
You were talking about how many schools we should be adding, how many buildings we should be adding, and instructors and support staff for those buildings.
Yes, support staff too.
Yeah, we have to add all those things in. This bond issue will give us a few more buildings. It will give us at least 2 more buildings, or?
Yeah, a new elementary, a new middle school, and the Career Academy, which will provide us some temporary relief at our high schools. At some point, a new high school is inevitable, but the Career Academy does allow us to defer that decision for a few more years.
And relieve some of that overcrowding. You didn't say overcrowding, but it sounded like that's what you were implying.
In our high schools, we're not quite overcrowded yet, but we're getting very full. Overcrowding at some point is going to be happening. We are looking at a new high school at some point in the near future.
Well, it sounds like this bond will give us at least some breathing room.
Yes, it will. It'll give us some space. It'll take care of some of our most urgent needs, and it'll get us through until the next one. And that's something that I'd like to be sure that people understand as well. One of the questions that I get is, didn't you guys just have a bond in 2006?
Yeah, didn't you I was going to ask that question. Didn't we just do this?
Why do you need more money? And there are two pieces to that. We have our general operating budget, our general budget, like we would have a budget at home for our groceries and entertainment or whatever else. And then we have our facilities, and just like you wouldn't pay cash to go buy a home.
No.
You take out a mortgage.
And you plan to pay it off over several years.
Exactly. And as a school district, we do the same thing. We just call the mortgage a bond. And as we grow and as we get more students, we need to purchase new buildings, and this is the mechanism that we use to do it. Using that long-term debt, especially right now when interest rates are very low. This is a very good time to be entering into something like this. But this is something that's going to come up. Historically, it's been about every 7 to 10 years where our population gets to the point where we need to be looking at new buildings, and then bonding is it's this pay-as-you-go model that we support in Nebraska. I don't think that the community would understand or appreciate it if we were taxing enough to be stockpiling cash.
Yeah, that would be a little bit of,
And also we're limited by law on how much cash that we can keep in hand. So keeping things tight, keeping the budget moving, and then as we have these needs, working on a plan, going for a bond, and then asking for the community support, and that's where we're at right now.
That sounds great. Lots of things you said. It's kind of an on-demand model. We build it, we kind of anticipate where it's going to be, we build it as we need it, we never ask for more than you really need, and you use it properly.
We're always going to be a little bit behind on growth because the need has to be there before we can justify spending taxpayer dollars. But that's where we're at right now. We've put a lot of time into this, we've put a lot of work into it, we've gotten a lot of community feedback. The fact that we just had the bond call on December 10th doesn't mean that's when we started talking about it. This has been a long process. And I think it's a very strong bond question.
I thank you for saying about the December 10th date. It sounded like it was new to us, but I think that's because I don't attend board meetings. I don't do public. I noticed on your website I can almost find all the information I need there. Are the meetings open to the public?
The meetings are open to the public. They are televised on Channel 99, I believe it is. We also have been live casting them on the internet on our website, www.lps.org. And we also have recorded, we call them video podcasts.
Yes, video on
so
demand
you
type
can watch
podcasts.
the back meetings.
That's what I did recently. I thought I should catch up on this.
Now I know that you're actually very involved and you're speaking for other people out there. But for folks who want to get more involved, those are some ways that they can. And also on our website, all of the board members' emails and phone numbers are there. We're a very accessible board.
You anticipate my next question. How does someone who's watching this show or someone who wants to get more information contact you?
But that's a way to get a hold of board members. But getting back to your question about for the bond, if people were to go to lps.org, at the top right corner of our main page, there's a 2014 bond link. If you click on that, it takes you to a page with all sorts of information. There are meeting notes, PowerPoint presentations that staff has given to us, recordings of work sessions so that people can watch what we actually talked about and see the information that we got. And depending on how much of a deep dive people want to do, there's a lot of information there.
Okay, that sounds a little bit more transparent than I'm accustomed to hearing. So it's all there. And if I have any questions, I could reach out to you and ask those.
Absolutely, any one of us.
Will there be any type of campaign education program? How will I heard about it in the newspaper. I saw that you were building one building. My friends explained to me there was more to this than just the one building. Will there be some type of opportunity for the public to gain more information?
There will. There will be a lot of opportunities. Right now, we have scheduled 7 meetings in January for an hour. Those are for an hour each. Those are all on our website. You can get on there and see where those are at. But also, we are not only hosting some meetings, we're coming out to the community. In 2006, we kept a record. We had over 100 engagements, Rotary meetings. Anytime there's a group of 15 people, we had somebody there.
Great.
And I anticipate we're going to do the same thing. So if you have a group of people that's meeting and you want to, if you have to come up with a speaker for lunch that month, call us and we'll send somebody out and do a presentation on the bond.
Wonderful. That's exciting. I think I will have you or someone from the board come in to explain this to one of my groups.
Please.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I have lots of other questions. Would you consider coming back?
I would love to come back, yes.
That would be wonderful. It would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you. My name is Benny Shobe. I'm your host for the Watchful Citizen. We just had a lovely guest, Don Mayhew from the school board, explain to us how the school board works and about an upcoming bond issue. You can watch our show. It's televised on the Time Warner Cable Public Access channel. It's also rebroadcast on our YouTube channel, the Lancaster County Democrats. And you can find more information about our show at the end of this broadcast. It'll show on the end. I would like to thank Don Mayhew for coming on. We hope he'll come back again soon. And I'd like to thank you for watching The Watchful Citizen.